So continuing on, this audio podcast as part of Serology and Squil. This audio podcast is part of a Hustle and Serotype. This audio podcast is part of a Defcon premiere, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Lobostics production. So continuing and looking at immunology, immunobiology, and stratifying receptors. The functional role of regulated upon activation normal T cell expression and presumably secreted and presumably secreted again a sort of the abbreviation known to be rantes and its receptors were also had been evaluated in simulated rat laboratory models of acute allograft rejection using the rantes receptor antagonist metrantes. Treatment with metrantes had shown significantly reduced vascular and tubular damage associated with AAR and suppression of mononuclear infiltration. Treatment with metrantes and older generation immunosuppression or IST, such as low dose cyclosporin, markedly attenuated the damage to renal vessels and tubules, and sort of prompted interstitial rejection. Early investigation also had informed the potential clinical advantage of chemokine antagonists such as metrantes and the early effects on the suppression of cellular infiltration and subsequent allograft damage, which may contribute to lowering the risk of chronic allograft rejection. The chemokine receptor CXCR6 that is similar in humans and in mice had been shown to be induced in vitro T cells primed in the presence of interleukin 12 and not interleukin 4. In blood, some CD positive and CD8 positive cells are CXCR6 positive. Very few CXCR6 positive cells are found in lymph nodes, but high figures are seen in sites of inflammation. The evidence suggests that CXCR6 may be a marker or of effect, or effector for T helper type 1 and T for T helper type 1 and T helper type 2 cells, and additionally where CXCR6 binds to chemokine CXCL16, a transmembrane or soluble protein produced by dendritic cells that attracts T cells and natural killer cells or NK cells. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of the Serology and Squil. This audio podcast is part of a Hustle and Serotype. This audio podcast as part of a Defcon premiere. And this audio podcast as part of a Storm Lobostics production.